Hello, my name is Craig, and today I'm here with Pastor Wes of Redland Hills Church in Wetumpka, Alabama. That's a tricky one, but I think I got it. Um, I don't often get to connect with pastors. My role is mainly looking at what marketing we're doing and emails we're sending and things like that. So this is one of the few times I get to sneak in there and uh, connect and hear more about the story and see what actually happened in the church. So, Pastor Wes, I really appreciate you being willing to jump on and share some of that with pastors that are similar to you. And to get started, just tell me about Redland Hills Church. What's the story there? How did you get there, and just kind of what's going on at the church right now?
Yeah, my wife and I had lived in a community just outside the capital city of Montgomery, Alabama, and a growing community, new schools, new neighborhoods going up like crazy. But the last church that had been started there was more than 20 years before the
Oh
time that
wow.
we actually had a vision to launch Redland Hills. So we, through a process of prayer and listening, and we um, got a few families in our community together, which started in a little clubhouse in January of 2014 with a church planning agency that helped us get off the ground and do some training.
Well,
And then launched that in January of 2014 just to love our neighbors and do something in where we live in our community. And since that time, we now almost 12 years later, next month will be our 12th birthday, have a church of over 500 people, and man, we've been incredibly blessed to just build a really neat community.
well, it's interesting you say that because uh, in that time, I'm sure you had a lot of moments of next steps, right? God's calling us to do this. I think we're going here. Whether it's going from the clubhouse, right, to or now we're in this space or these new spaces. So tell me, I think it was okay. Yeah, I have in July, I guess, of 2024. It's probably before that, at least, that um, you and I'm sure your leadership had to have a conversation about, hey, I think we need more space. Um, Tell me maybe just a little bit about like what were some of the catalytic moments in that? Was it just the parking lot's getting full? We don't have enough room. How did you know we might need to talk to somebody about what's happening here?
Yeah, so we started in a little neighborhood clubhouse and we were there for 3 years. Then we moved into an elementary school for a year. And then we were blessed to buy 8 acres of land and build our first phase. But as a 3-year-old church plant, you can't afford what you want. You can afford what the bank will lend you at that time. And so we built something knowing that we would have to expand as things grew. And so, of course, then, like everybody, we went through a pandemic. And then coming out of the pandemic, the current phase that we have was getting full. We already had 2 services. The second service got full as well. And we didn't really have any other options in our community besides an addition to our current facility. So we're going to increase our capacity by 250%, build some offices because our current location doesn't have any staff offices except for mine, and add some classroom space. So that was kind of the um, impetus behind that decision. And so we knew we would need some help to help fund that and make that a reality. That's why we reached out to Enjoy.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, so tell me a little bit then about the process from there for you guys, because um, I know you did a 2-year campaign, and I think it was late of 2024 when we actually ended up partnering up, maybe September or October, something around there. And then you guys ended up committing in April, I think, was it mid-April? So it's been a couple months since then. So tell me maybe a little bit about that process. I know I believe you had a goal of 500,000. So maybe tell me how was that process, and then what did you see happen in April?
Yeah, so originally when we reached out to Enjoy in July of 2024, sent out somebody who kind of introduced the process for us, and this is how this would work, how your format, your style is, go through the whole process with us, help us understand to make an informed decision. And then when we signed the contract in the fall of last year. I think it was in October of last year. That unlocked the next step of the process where our consultant, Jeff, came out and we were able to kind of map out a blueprint that worked with our church's schedule, wrapping around different, major events that we had to schedule around, do the financial analysis so that our people worked with you guys as financial consultants to help figure out what is kind of a minimum and what would be a fate stretch for us there. And then we put a team together based on the blueprint that you guys laid out for us to help put the right people over different areas, from the kids area to putting the marketing material together to working with the youth, and to help kind of do the PR side of things, and put leaders in all of those positions. And our team met for several months to plan that. And then in March of this year, it's beginning in January of this year, we started with some key leaders, having some conversations and dinners with them to kind of share the heartbeat of the vision in kind of an intimate setting. And then we took that to the whole church in March of this year, and we were able to share um, the blueprint. We were able to share, this is our heart, this is our vision, this is what it's going to take. And Enjoy really helped us map out how to communicate that in a way that would be understandable and also exciting for them to jump in. Then from that point, unlocked a 3 weeks of discernment and prayer. We had some activities set up so folks could go through a journey together to think about um, what they could do and how they wanted to participate. We engaged the kids with that. It was a whole church-wide process. And then in April, after Easter, we had our commitment Sunday, and our goal was 500,000. And I think thanks to the hard back end work that Enjoy helped us do, we were able to get pledges of almost $850,000 that that's Commitment Sunday. So it was a big joy and celebration for us that day. Immediately, we had over $200,000 in cash that was given that one Sunday. And then we were able to pay off the remaining balance on our first mortgage. And then as these new pledges come in, we're able to put that towards the vision of our phase 2.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, it's just amazing to hear. I mean, I know you were in it, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. Not just from you, but volunteers and people on your staff, and the whole community. Right? They sacrifice for that, and it's easy for us on the Enjoy side to look at the numbers a lot, because it is very important, right? You have a goal, you have to hit that goal, and we have to make the next step. I'm curious, in that season of sacrifice, because you're going to have a glimpse of things that we don't get to see from the spiritual side of people being able to take those next steps. Brian Dodd often says the most important part of a capital campaign isn't necessarily the commitment event moment. It's when you get a family to sit down at their dinner table and ask God what he would have them sacrifice. He's like, that's the moment. um, I wonder if you have any stories about uh, just spiritual growth that happened either from you or your staff or just in the community in general. Like, hey, because we did this campaign, yeah, we hit our financial goal and we did that, and that's great. But let me tell you what happened spiritually. If there's any moments that stand out.
I think one of the beautiful things that we did was, as a part of our launch Sunday, we tried to frame it in terms of, this is more than just a building, right? This is
Hmm.
a heart for people. We're making room for people. And
Yeah.
so, and those people have names. And so what we tried to do was, um, we created a big Jesus mural on the wall. And as a part of that Commitment Sunday, we invited people to bring names that they posted on that wall using a piece of wood that we cut from the land that this was going to be built on.
Wow.
And uh, and so that mural still hangs in our current worship space as a reminder of our purpose there. And So we hold those names in front of us, and because we don't want it to be just about a construction project, right? We want to
Right.
keep the kingdom in focus. I think another component was just kind of the a faith excitement to hit a goal that none of us thought was possible. I mean, there was nobody on our leadership team and nobody in our church that thought we would hit what we did
Mm.
because um, even Enjoy's numbers said, a faith goal for you would be 750. Like, if there were like a mega
Mhm.
movement, 750 would, and so we exceeded that by 100,000 as well. So,
Well,
when you have moments like that, there's a lot of excitement and energy that goes forward to say, look what we can do when um, we seek the Lord in those things. And it was really beautiful. I would also say, from a faith or spiritual standpoint, like one of the things I was worried about was, would this hurt kind of the other giving aspects of the church and other
yeah.
ministries? And they've actually been even more generous since that time. We just had a campaign right before Thanksgiving where we wanted to do a couple of big splashes in our community and then one big project around the world. And again, we were in the middle of a campaign that's still ongoing. And so, would our church be able to respond to those goals while we have these other commitments over here? And so, we were able to, this fall, in addition to the building campaign, fund the cost of a surgeon at a mission hospital in Malawi, Africa, for an entire year. And our church has just paid off $3.6 million in medical debt for people in our county, where we worked with a um, agency that buys up medical debt. And so for every dollar, you get $100 worth of medical debt that you buy up. So we were able to purchase $3.6 million worth of debt. And because again, we don't want to lose mission in the midst of a building campaign. So really super encouraging. So those are, and then, sometimes the people that you don't expect to have a lot of resources sometimes surprise you with some of the greatest generosity and where people, I don't know, it's just beautiful to see the way people engaged.
Well, it's interesting. You kind of answered um, one of the questions. One of the things we do now before we have that, meeting at a church, right? That initial, like, hey, let me tell you about what a campaign. Here's a campaign at Redland Hills. Here's what it looks like. One of the things we do now before those meetings is send like a questionnaire out to board members and leadership staff, and just say, hey, we're going to tell you some stuff, but what questions do you want us to answer? And one of them is what you just said, the like, what is this going to do to our regular giving? Because that's a real genuine question. Like, you want to be, you want to know. There's a couple other questions that I'm curious how you would respond to, having gone through a campaign. So another one that's really common, especially right now, is, um, should we wait for um, more economic stability? Like, that's a question that a lot of board members are asking us right now. Like, hey, it feels like there's economic uncertainty. Should we just wait, and then when it feels a little better, then we'll move forward? Like, why should we go now? And to be honest, you guys committed in a relatively uncertain time. like, um, so I'm just, that's very interesting because you've experienced that. So maybe how would you respond to that board member? Like, hey, here's what we saw.
Yeah, we had those same questions because at the time we were launching this campaign was in the midst of all of the tariff discussion. What's that going to do to the economy? What's that going to do to the price of a building? Can we afford this? So all of those things we wrestled with. I think on the backside, we decided like, if you think about it, we always have economic uncertainty hanging over our head. Like, when is there a time that anybody feels fantastic about the economy and the direction of it? I mean, we can never predict a hurricane or an earthquake or a political event. I mean, all of those kinds of things are always there. And at some point, are we going to let that? I mean, we want to be wise stewards, of course, but we don't want to let that stop us in mission and doing the things that we want to do, and especially when we have a growing context, to wait on our expansion and creating more space for more people would have ultimately hurt the mission. And so I think just having to navigate all of those kind of tensions that you're facing, again, we needed a good plan. And the way we compensated for that was in the economic uncertainty. We knew we needed to pad our budget a little bit, realizing that there would probably be some additional costs that we didn't foresee, whether they be tariff related or supply chain shortages. And so far, I mean, we're over a third of the expense of our building project has been locked in, and we've had minimal cost increase, way less than we had anticipated. But those are things that we needed to plan for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I talked to a pastor maybe last week and kind of asked him a similar question, and he had a very similar answer to you, and kind of along the lines of like, if we didn't do it now and we wait 5 years, it's going to be more expensive. Like we just know that, and so um, it makes a lot of sense. Another one that gets asked for us a lot is um, effectively, why should we spend money, right, to partner with Enjoy or partner with any organization when we're trying to raise money? Which is, again, that's a totally fair question. And we get board members saying, "Hey, how are we going to tell our congregation or talk to the leadership or talk to our staff and say, hey, we're spending this money so we can raise funds to do this capital project?" And I'm curious about your perspective on that in making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, that was also a conversation point for us as well with spending the cost to invest in Enjoy. I think, but also, when I said, hey, in the midst of all of the demands on my time, yeah, we could not spend that money, but it's going to come out of somebody's time that we're paying for already. And I don't have the expertise. I don't have the knowledge base and the experience that you guys bring. So it was just much easier for us to invest in that knowing that it's going to pay a dividend. And when you, at the end of the day, when you looked at the entirety of what we have raised and have pledged versus the cost of the campaign expense, it was minimal, and I think produced a much greater result in the end. So yes, the upfront cost was not expensive, but it was significant. And then but we got a great product in the end. We got a great fruitfulness at the end.
That's awesome. That's super encouraging. One last question for you. Uh, just again, as we have these pastors that we're connecting with and churches that are going through a very similar probably thought process that you did, um, you know, do you have any kind of words of wisdom or something that you would tell probably a pastor that's kind of in the midst of trying to make a decision of maybe I should go with Enjoy, maybe we should do it ourselves, or maybe we shouldn't do it? Like that's totally an option. What is your encouragement to them as they're trying to take that next step and looking into the future?
Yeah, well, we did a lot of homework before we selected Enjoy. We actually interviewed multiple organizations and felt like Enjoy fit with our DNA and the process we really identified with and felt like it fit our context. And, I would say that the expertise that comes with this really helped us make good decisions step by step. And we're able to see things from an outside perspective that perhaps we would not have considered or couldn't see ourselves. But I also really appreciated the financial analysis of going through some of our numbers and seeing things that, even though I feel like I had a good handle and understanding on the finances, y'all were able to see some incredible things and trend lines that really helped us look at the data and not just the emotion of a project. And I think that analysis, most churches are not going to have it in-house for that, and to be able to crunch the numbers in certain ways that we had never done before. And so that expertise, I think, gave us confidence moving forward, but it also helped us know how to continue to do ministry through all of that and be able to see like where people were at and how they were responding. And yeah, so that really helped us a lot.